What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Twisted Life of TV. I am Poetry. You are here for our very first book breakdown. This is going to be 107 Days by Kamala Harris. So if you want to find out what's going on with this book, stick around the channel because I'm going to be dropping several videos. This is not a full book review today. This is just me reading through a few chapters, and I'm coming on here and tell y'all child what I read, okay? And then give you my opinion on what I read as well. So the book normally goes for about $30, but I was able to get it on pre-sale for $20. And last time I checked, it was still available for $20. So if you want to go out there and get it, this is the best time to do so. This is the cover, 107 Days by Kamala Harris. And then in the background, you see the number of days counting all the way down to 107. I like that. This was one of her most infamous pictures that she had on the podium, and her little niece was standing there watching her or sitting there watching her. And the way they took that picture, it looks so epic. It's one of my favorite photos of her doing her campaign. So that is what the back cover looked like. Like I said, I tend to buy hardcovers or paperbacks. I don't buy a lot on Kindle, but I think it's on Kindle for like $14. Her second book, I believe it was her second book, I did buy on Kindle because I didn't want it. I told y'all about it before. I didn't want that book, but I said I was gonna read it. And I'm actually still reading it. Let me show you the inner jacket. It says, for the first time and with surprising and revealing insights, Kamala Harris tells the story of one of the wildest and most consequential presidential campaigns in American history. Your Secret Service code name is Pioneer. You're the first woman in history to be elected the Vice President of the United States. On July 21st, 2024, your running mate, Joe Biden, announces that he will not be seeking re-election. The presidential election will occur November 5th of 2024. You have 107 days. This is a very popular picture of her sitting in her home, listen to her music. She's either about to go for a run or she's already went for a run. Well, this might have been the actual day. I don't remember. Day one of the 107 days when she got that phone call. That's the picture. Okay. Let's see. So okay. And this was the closing argument photo. So if you just want something historical, those photos alone, will do that for you. But I was at the dealership today, and I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and start this book. I wasn't going to start it until I finished the other book, but ciao, here we are. I got through like 20 pages in the first hour. I don't know. I was just getting off work. I was very sleepy, and I started dozing off around page 20. So that's why I said I'm going to stop reading because I might miss something, right? So I'm just going to use that as my grading scale. So about 20 pages an hour. Her whole tale is 300 pages. That means I should finish this book within 15 hours. Again, I don't know how many videos that'll be because I'm not going to break it down per hour. I'm just going to read and then I'll stop and then I'll come on here and talk to you guys, right? But on average, 15 hours, which is, I could do that in a day if I just sat there for that morning and decided to read. The chapters are varying lengths. Like the first chapter is like probably only about 3 or 4 pages. Then we got 8 pages. Then we got 10 pages, something like that, 8 pages, 10 pages. Well, I'm off somewhere in there. But the chapters are varying lengths. If you don't know who Kamala Harris is, she was the Vice President of the United States, the first Black woman, the first woman to be elected into that position. This is her 4th written body of work. Her first book came out in 2009, called Smart on Crime. The second book came out in 2019, and that's the one I have on Kindle, The Truths We Hold. She also wrote a children's book in that same year, 2019, called Superheroes Are Everything. And again, this is her 4th installment, 107 Days, Kamala Harris. If you're still sticking with me right now, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video so that way we can come back. If you'd like me to do book content, then maybe that's what I'll be doing. I just wrapped up Prince Harry's book Spare. I got Alexei Navalny's book next. I'm still reading The Best Man. You know, those other books. And there's my own. If you didn't know I was an author. Okay, so anywho. So I was going to try to do this like a book club style, you know, have my little questions about what I liked about the book, what I recommended or not. Again, I'm just now getting into it. I'm just in the first 20 pages. And what I recommended, yes, without even reading the whole book. This is a piece of our history that they will most likely try to erase. So would I recommend reading this book? Yes, to everyone. Read it to your children if you can. Read it. This is history in the making, and I suggest any and everybody reads this book. I don't care what nationality you are, what cultural background you have, what race you claim, what political party you're affiliated with. You should read this book. Okay. Like I said, so far in this first 20 pages, did anything really strike emotion for me? I actually got kind of peeved in these first 20 pages. But let me tell you one of the main reasons, y'all know I'm petty, the pancake story about how she woke up that morning, because so many people have asked her over and over again, what was it like to get that phone call from Joe Biden? What was it like to get that phone call? So we've heard this pancake story 1,000 fucking times, okay? How she was getting ready to make pancakes for her nieces, because that's something they always did on Sunday morning, and she liked to cook, and she was going to make pancakes, and she was going to make bacon and sausage, but she had to go for a run. We've heard that story over and over again. And that first chapter pretty much gave me that same story. Okay. What I did like there was added in more detail. You could tell that she likes to write. So there is some very descriptive features that are going into that first chapter that make that pancake story seem a lot more relatable. I personally am so sick of hearing that fucking story. But this is not just with Kamala Harris. This is politicians, period. They seem to regurgitate the same shit over and over again because they want you to remember them for that. They trying to get that embedded in your brain. So with that particular story, she's trying to make you see how relatable she is. She's trying to make you see how family person she is. She's down to earth and just like you, cooking pancakes and got her How Are You sweats on and things like that. All of these descriptors in there about how old her niece is, how fast her niece ran, how gently her niece tapped on the door as she came into the room. These are things that she's discussing in this first chapter. In the beginning, the very first chapter, she has 2 chapters named the same thing. The first chapter is called July 21st, 107 Days. Chapter 2 is called June 27th, 131 Days. Then chapter 3, which ends on the page 20, what I stopped on, that is also called July 21st, 107 Days. So she kind of went back to the initial story on day 1 after she told what happened a few weeks ahead of time. Some of the things that what I found in the initial story, like I say, after we talked about that pancake story and how to be relatable, I'm going to actually read some of the things out of the book here too, right? So I have my notes here. So you see me keep looking that way because I'm looking for my notes to see exactly where I plan on reading. I'm not going to read y'all the entire thing. I have a very dry mouth. And then I'll be all that. I got my bottle of water here with child. And then I hate to crack the spine of my damn books, y'all. So yeah, I ain't gonna be doing all that jazz. Hold on, let me get my laptop in a perfect way. So when we open up the story, she's basically telling us she is tuning out all of the media. She no longer watches the daytime news, the news reports, the Sunday morning news, the Good Morning Americans and things like that, because she is so sick of them talking about Joe Biden and whether or not he is capable of doing his job. One of the forewords that she put into the front of the book, I think is very, I can never think of my words. Think that is very relevant to the rest of this book. She has 2 quotes in here. One by Alberto Brandolini. It says, the amount of energy necessary to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than to produce it. Let me say that again. The amount of energy necessary to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than produce it. Yeah, I read that right. Okay, but that's the quote. What that told me is that she feel like she had a lot of bullshit to maneuver through, dealing with this presidency and this second term election, and there was the energy that it took for her to fight back all the negative thoughts and the negative press was a lot harder for her than to actually come out and speak positively towards this election. Okay. The second quote that she has in here is by Kendrick Lamar. It's actually 2. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. I was born like this. Kendrick Lamar in DNA. And what that tells me is that she feels like the reason that we are in the state that we are in is that she was so fucking loyal to Joe Biden. And when I read the tone of this book, that's one of the things that I like to try to address when I'm talking about memoirs and autobiographies. The tone of this book, I sense a lot of resentment for being so loyal to Joe Biden. And I feel a lot of annoyance for having to maneuver and to handle all of the negative press and energy that came with it. Now I see that inside this book, she's seeing some praises of Joe Biden, but at the same time, I could sense that she was sick of it. She wanted him to sit the fuck down. And after reading these first 20 pages, and I'm just 20 pages in, after reading these first 20 pages, I believe she may have been part of the machine to tell him, you too old for this, man. Not directly, but indirectly, because I see the way she talks to him is like a lawyer would speak to somebody that she's prosecuting, or a witness that she's trying to get them to say what she wants them to say, or to believe what she wants them to believe based off of the information presented. And it sounds to me like she was in Biden's ear a little bit, like, if you want me to take the job, I'll take it. That type of situation, right? Like, again, I said I'm going to read some of those quotes in here. And if you're still sticking with me, we're going to get right into it, right? So like I said, we get into more details about the phone call in book 1, about what it was like to receive that phone call from Joe Biden. We go through the whole fucking pancake story. I'm not going to go through that bullshit again. But when she got the phone call from Joe Biden, it was like, he should have did this shit long time ago. Okay. That was the first feeling I got from her when reading this. There was a statement that she made here. See if I thought I had this one written down. I probably got it written down later in my notes and gonna come back to it. That says, this is page 3, the last paragraph. He resisted this decision for weeks, adamantly ignoring a drumbeat that had ranged from salacious advice to intense condemnation. Right? So she had been waiting for him to make a decision on whether or not he was going to drop out of the race. And if I recall back to those news media days, that's when all this pressure was happening. Like, he needs to drop out. And then we got this, like, the DMs can't fucking stick together because one side of them is telling him to drop out. We had fucking George Clooney bitch ass come on TV and like, Biden needs to go, that type of thing. And I was dead set that Pelosi had every and anything to do with the fact that that Joe Biden needed to get out the race. And I didn't believe that she wanted Joe Biden to get out the race for Kamala Harris to step in. I believe wholeheartedly, 100% to this day, it was about getting Gavin Newsom into office. If you're unaware, this is Gavin Newsom's last time to run as well, okay, as governor. So he can't be governor of California anymore. He has to move on to a new and higher position if he's going to stay within politics. And I believe Gavin Newsom is going to run for governor. Same thing with Ron DeSantis here in Florida. I believe, not governor, for president. I believe DeSantis is going to make a second run for president. This is his last year to try to run. This is his last year as governor. He can't run any longer, which is why his bitch ass wife is running. But I believe you're going to see Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis in the 2028 election. If they do something about Trump ass. Otherwise, DeSantis not going to run. But Gavin Newsom still will. However, I still think Kamala Harris is going to run as well, which is why she didn't run for governor of California. She likes Gavin. She likes working with Gavin. They're good buddies. They're friends. But Kamala Harris believes she is the only one qualified to do this job. She talks about it in this book here. Okay, so we mentioned that, well, we didn't mention it. So while she was getting that phone call from Biden, she wanted him to pause. Wait a minute, think about it, in so many words, but the way she was talking, I was like, girl, because she was like, really? Give me a bit more time. The whole world is about to change. I'm here in sweatpants, and the two people staffing me right now are under 4 feet tall, which is her two nieces. I'm going to bring that back up again because later on in the episode, I realized there was a lot of staffers at her house. But for some reason, she said that her two nieces were the only staffers there. Anywho, she wanted Biden to wait, and he was like, no, I think we should do this now. But he wanted to wait a couple days for her to actually be endorsed by him because he said he was going to endorse her. And she was like, oh, no, hell no. If you're going to do it all together, right? My words, not hers. But she said that would be ruinous. And I said so. She told Joe that she was honored. But this is a 24-hour news cycle going on right now. And that they will be all over our asses, like white on rice. If you decided to drop out the race and then days later, you come back and talk about, you know what, I'm going to voice Kamala. Like, what the fuck is that? And she told him, people going to look at this moment for years to come, right? So we ain't got to rush this shit. We ain't got to rush it. Just slow down. But she said, but if you're going to do it, endorse me at the same damn time. Now, I had always believed that it was Joe Biden's decision to actually endorse her. The way in which he did it. Like, I was like, he needed no break in between. He needed no time because they were going to hop all over it. If he didn't endorse her right then and there, somebody else like Gavin Newsom would have stepped the fuck up and said, I'm running for president. Okay. So he had to do it. And I thought it was always Biden's decision. But according to her book, this was her decision, She said any gap between the announcement and the endorsement will lead to the same kind of chaos that we've had for the last 3 weeks. What happened in the last 3 weeks? That's when he had that debate with Donald Trump that was supposed to be so fucking horrendous. I don't know if I told y'all this or not. I didn't watch that debate. I think I probably told y'all because I was very honest on when I was watching the debate. I didn't watch that debate. I don't know what he said or what he did that was so fucking horrendous in the eyes of people. But there was a statement that was made in here that he kind of spaced out for a minute. He talked about we beat Medicaid, and then Trump made a statement that, yeah, you beat it all right. You beat it to death. And that was the disastrous moment. Even reading it, it doesn't seem as disastrous to me. Like, it had to be something else. But all throughout this book, she herself is mentioning his age. Okay. She said that she knew for a fact overconfidence, not just confidence. I appreciate her having confidence in herself, but I thought she was a bit overconfident as well. But she is a lawyer. Again, she is a politician. And most politicians and lawyers have a narcissist side to them. What Kamala Harris does well is she's very good at sugarcoating that narcissism and making it charm. Same way Gavin Newsom does too. And I like him. I do. But he's a narcissist, but he's a charming narcissist. And he's a charming narcissist that I'm glad is on our side. And that's what I was feeling from these first 20 pages from her as well. She made the statement that says, I knew I was the candidate in the strongest position to win, the most qualified. and ready, the highest name recognition, a powerful donor base. And I also knew, as he did, that I was the only person who was going to preserve his legacy. At this point, anyone else was bound to throw him and all the good he had achieved right under the bus. Now, this was the legacy portion. In that statement, page 3, paragraph 3, in that statement, that's where was the first mention of his legacy that needed to be preserved. And throughout those first 20 pages, there's mention of it again that she keeps bringing up to Joe Biden about his legacy. To at one point, he comes back and says, that's all they're going to talk about. They're not going to talk about my legacy anymore. Okay. So I think, without doing so much, that she specifically put that in his head that only way your legacy is going to be upheld is by me. Okay. I'm not mad at her for doing it, but but I'm saying I don't think that his legacy was an issue at first until it started being drilled in his head. Then it became a big topic all over the news, right? About his legacy, his legacy, his legacy. So, like, she even talked to his campaign advisors because they wanted to wait also. They wanted to put a couple days in between the announcement. And she was like, no, that ain't going to work. It ain't going to be work. There needs to be no daylight. And he said, okay, cool. So Joe Biden said he's going to call her back. Okay. So she waited in anticipation throughout the whole fucking day for him to call back what his decision is going to be. But she mentions that this wasn't the first time that it was brought up. So since that debate, people were saying he needed to drop out, like I say, Joe Clooney and his big fucking mouth and all these other millionaires who want to run the fucking campaigns. She mentioned that Joe Biden had a conversation with her on July 15th. This was 6 days prior to him making the announcement and 2 days after that staged assassination attempt on Trump. Okay. She said they were in a situation room. They was debriefing, looking into the shooting itself. And he had a little, table meeting and let everybody out. And after everybody left, he asked her, stick around. And he says to her, if for any reason I had to drop out, I would support you, but only if that's what you want. It occurred to me that I never even asked you. And she says he clearly rehearsed this speech. Why would she think that this was a rehearsed speech? And who would he be rehearsing it with? Why would he be rehearsing a speech to ask her, did she want to run? That doesn't make sense to me. But this is what she said that he said, and she felt that the speech was clearly rehearsed, that it wasn't a spontaneous thought. And it was the first time that she knew he was actually considering taking it seriously. Okay, the cause for him to drop out. Now, the reason why I don't believe I don't believe this next statement. She says the cause for him to drop out, he said, will probably continue. People were throwing his own words back at him that he had said he would be a transitional leader. I do not believe that happened. And again, because I said I believe that she was part of the catalyst for him saying, I need to go ahead and leave now and preserve my legacy, because again, she's the only one who could do it for him. She's the only one who could preserve the legacy. I don't think people were necessarily throwing his words back at him until they told the media to throw his words back at him. Because then it became a trend. Well, he's supposed to be the president of change. He's supposed to be the president who's for the people and not for his own selfish needs. And they start throwing it back at him over and over again. I don't believe Joe Biden said that at all. Anyway, she said, I'm fully behind you, Joe. But if you decide not to run, I'm ready. I got you, boo. Okay. And I'm going to give it my all because Trump needs to be beaten. Then she said that there was no further discussion after this until that phone call happened on July 21st. So that was the first chapter, right? So then we got to go back until 131 days. I said to go to page 5. In the second chapter, that's all we're talking about is Joe Biden's mental and physical health. The chapter starts off with her speaking about his exhaustion, her speaking about the reason why he's falling and stumbling, said that he's had neuropathy for years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought neuropathy was mostly associated with having diabetes. If it's associated with a lot of other things, y'all just let me know. And then after he's been dealing with neuropathy for the past 4 years, I think she said, was it 4 years? Just 4 years. Okay. He fractured his foot playing with one of his dogs, and his doctor had prescribed a boot for him, but he didn't want to seem old and feeble, so he decided he wasn't gonna wear it. So she's sure that's why he was walking with a limp, because his gait was messed up. So now he walks unsteadily. So that was her trying to be loyal to him and saying it wasn't that it's because he was an old man. He actually had an injury that he was dealing with, and because of his fucking pride, he didn't want y'all to know that he had to wear a god doggone boot. Okay. Of course, y'all would turn his ass up and keep saying how old he was. So he called her, when he was in debate camp. Apparently, this is some shit that they do, and they do it for weeks at a time, just drilling him. Y'all seen depositions on TV where they drilling the person who's supposed to be testifying, and it seemed like they going against them. They trying to prepare them for what's going to be thrown at them. That's what Camp David Academy is like during debate time. So they got Joe Biden, 80-year-old ass, staying up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, being drilled about different shit that Trump would be throwing at him. And he seemed tired when he called her. And of course, she says, more tired than he ever had sounded before. I just knew it was taking a toll on him. So all through this whole second chapter, she is like backhandedly saying, yeah, this motherfucker was old and tired. I was trying to tell his ass to sit down. She specifically says, are you getting some rest, Joe? You need to take a break, Okay. Debate camp is awful. Then she backs it up. She did the Jimmy Kimmel. Like I said, when Jimmy Kimmel he'd go in there, he'd turn Trump up, and then he'd come back, would say something nice about MAGA. That's basically what she did. She's talking about him being old and he needing to sit down and how he moves robotically. And then she goes on to say, but debate camp is awful. It can be hard on anybody. It just leaves you barely competent. From there, they build you back up, running through every possible line of attack until you feel invulnerable. And with the debate fast approaching, Joe should have been well past that stage by now. By the time he made that call to me, he should have been more upbeat, more peppy, but he wasn't. He didn't sound that way, and it worried me. Okay, this whole chapter, that's the tone, the energy that you get. She'll say one good thing, and then she'll say, but he was old. He should debate. He should debate. Trump ain't debated this whole primary. Joe should have debated, but Joe seemed reluctant from the start. Jill didn't think he should do it either. Okay, over and over again, there's times that she's saying he should really debate. We need to really stick it to Trump. But then Special Counsel Robert Hur said in his documents that Biden was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I wouldn't go out there and debate like that, but he should debate. Okay, so and this one began October 8th, the morning after Hamas had viciously attacked Israel, when Biden had spent long hours in classified meetings monitoring the crisis. He would still have the weight of his shoulders. He had the weight of those events on his shoulders, still very much in flux and threatening regional war on his own mind. And now he got to go out here and debate crazy ass Trump. I paraphrased the last one, okay? She talked about Barack Obama and how he bounced back after camp, Then she went on to go explain about all the shit she's done. I was on the West Coast doing this. I was in Arizona doing that. I was bouncing back to LA doing that. I even sat down and spoke with Usher. I talked with Taraji. I went to the BET Awards. Da-da-da this, da-da-da that. We got like 2 pages of her talking about the shit she's done, and then bigging up her campaign staff as well. She's want to make sure that you guys know that her campaign staff was well to do. And they was able to do this. They trained, they experienced, they qualified. We was gonna win this shit. Okay. So she goes on to talk about all the different shit she got to clean up behind Biden. He'll say something to make a mistake, as most presidents would do. is what she said in here. But she had to go back and get on the news and talk to Jake Tapper and talk to Anderson Cooper about the shit that he did wrong, especially during that debate, right? And then meanwhile, Trump is out here using his words like a weapon, you know, shooting before he aimed, spouting lies, unburdened by the truth. And Biden is out here still striving for accuracy. But then he stops mid-sentence to correct himself. And that left him sounding hesitant and garbled. I knew the important policy points he was struggling to convey. I knew that shit is what she's saying. Okay? And I knew that he knew I knew. And he knew him. He's a master of this shit, right? But it wasn't coming across at all. Okay? So by the end of the whole 90-minute debate, they wanted her to go on TV. You know, they go to the white room afterwards, and they supposed to say, "Yeah, Biden won this shit." You know, and she was like, "The fuck I am. I'm not finna sit here and tell that lie. Everybody see him fumble the same way I did, and I ain't finna go up here and say this man did something he didn't do." You know, but I'm still gonna be loyal to him, so I'm gonna tap dance around every question that's thrown at me. And she did that with Anderson Cooper until she couldn't fucking take it no more. Okay. By the time she got done with Anderson Cooper ass, she said, so I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance from Trump. Okay. Anderson jumped on in, tried to keep pushing right on back, asking her what she's doing and what could she have done. And so she brought up Mike Pence and what the hell Mike Pence was doing, you know? And then so Anderson ends with, neither person on that stage tonight made it an argument as coherently as you did right now. And this is another moment where she's pumping herself up. She even comes back and saying, somebody on his panel made the observation that the interview with her was one of the greatest acts of political malpractice that they've seen in his lifetime. Okay. Now she's on the road. She has great appeals. She also has potential star power. Issues like reproductive rights and in the Black community, she's a great asset to them. And they kept her under wraps. Why the fuck they doing that, right? So this is where I sense a lot of the annoyance and bitterness and resentment in this second chapter here, right? So, I ain't even follow my own notes. So after the debate, like I say, they wanted her. I did that part already. 12:05. It was about 12:05. Yeah, I did that part already. I am moving right along, child. So third chapter, we go back to the 107 days to the election, right? We're back at their house. We get more conversation about the pancakes and more relatability. We get breakdown about her family members, where they're at in this place in time, what type of credentials and backgrounds they have and smarts and everything that they have. We get a lot more credibility selling about her law school degrees and this, that, and the other. And her brother-in-law happened to be at the house, and decided he was going to have a meeting with her staff, a meeting she didn't approve. Apparently, he had been keeping a red folder of information about what to do if she was to become president or if she was running. And he was about to go over that red file, and she didn't want nothing to do with that. But so he having this secret meeting out at the pool with her staff that she said wasn't there. Because initially she said in the beginning that the only staff that she had was people under 4 feet tall, which was her two nieces. But now we got a whole team that's already there at the house with her brother-in-law who ain't part of the fucking campaign. Okay, but he's setting them up for what if Biden decides not to run. Okay, and in that moment, we go back to the phone call with Biden, and Kamala is telling her niece, "Hey, go get your mama." Okay, so the niece run upstairs to go tell her mama, "Hey, Auntie need you downstairs." Okay, and at the same time, Auntie running downstairs, her brother-in-law was running upstairs from the pool, and they all meet there at the same point, just in time to hear Joe Biden saying he giving it up. Okay, she can have it, right? It's yours, boo. It's yours to do what you want to do. Just give me a few days, right? Now Doug, he was in LA at this time. That was that airline glitch that happened. I think it lasted about five days or so. And so he couldn't get back out to the East Coast. He was in LA with his son. Her sister was up in New York, when the story broke and everything. But there was a mention that she made mention in this book. She had been trying to reach Doug and she couldn't. She couldn't figure out why. And she specifically pointed out that he was at the gym with one of his friends who just came out. Apparently he came out during COVID and said that he's gay. And he was, I guess the boyfriend was there with him too. And I was like, what was the point of her making a point of saying what this man's sexuality was? I know he came out, in COVID 2020. What was her point of putting it in the book? And I don't have any doubt that she is not anti-LGBTQ, but I think she's pandering to them at this particular point. She's pandering to them at this point to say, I got you, boo. I know about you. We got friends. I got black friends. I think she wanted to say, I got gay friends, because I've seen in a lot of her interviews that she's done in the past few days, and they've asked her about Pete Buttigieg and why she didn't select him, because she said that he was her number one pick. And Rachel Maddow went on a conversation about her and saying, it's so sad that you couldn't pick him because he was gay. Now, I'm going to tell you, if y'all watch any of my videos, I said that exact thing. Not that she couldn't pick him. I said the world is not ready to have a black woman president and a gay vice president, no matter what color they was. They not finna let it happen. They're not finna let it happen. The way that this country has been set up, they hate black women and they hate the gays. And they have two of them on that ticket. There was no fucking way she was going to win. That's what I said. She said, I just didn't think that the time was right. I think he is very well qualified. I didn't pick him I did not pick him because he was gay. I just didn't feel like the time was right. We had such a little window, 107 days to do this. Why wouldn't the timing be right? Why wouldn't Pete if he was the most qualified next to you, why wouldn't the timing be right? So your only reason for not picking him was because he was gay and how people was going to perceive it. It's okay to say that shit because I said it 1,000 fucking times. It's no shade to the gay people. It's just the temperature of the room. You got to read the fucking room. The temperature of America, they was not finna accept that shit. They didn't want your black ass. Okay? They didn't want your black ass. Now, maybe if it was Pete running and you as the VP, they might have considered it because they'll take a gay male before they take a black woman. Anywho, okay, so what was I on? Oh, I ain't got that much. We almost done, child. I'm glad I'm not gonna make this video too long. So, anywho, then we get into chapter 3. After she accepted the position and she thanked Joe for doing it and how she said she was gonna make him proud and she was gonna carry on his legacy and do all this, that, and the third, she started making phone calls. She made over 100 calls that day, but she lists some specific ones, and I'm gonna read through those. So she made a phone call to Barack Obama. Barack said, "Saddle up. Joe did what I hoped he would do, but you have to earn it." Fuck that's supposed to mean. Joe did what I expected him to do, but you got to earn it. Okay. Anyway, Michelle and I are supportive, but we're not going to put a finger on the scale right now. Let Joe have his moment. Think through the timing. Okay. Called the Clintons. Bill said, "Oh my God, I'm so relieved, girl. Send me anywhere. Make this your own campaign." Okay. Hillary said, "We thrilled. The president endorsed you. We'll do whatever we can. We'll jump on the plane. We'll get on the Amtrak. I want to be part of your war council." Now, I figured that she would because Hillary is still girl power. Okay, I will admit that. Jim Clyburn, the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus, who support caused Biden to win in South Carolina, was like, "Let's go. I'm all in." Okay. Josh Shapiro, who was my pick for the VP, said, "How you holding up? You know what I'm saying? You all right? You will have my support. I have a lot of Trump voters in my state, and you have the ability to draw them away." Okay. Wes Moore's fine ass, governor of Maryland. You've been loyal. I respect that. That right there tells me again, She has some type of resentment for being so loyal, and she wasn't the only one. Wes probably been saying, I don't know why the fuck you wasn't running in the first damn place. That's probably what Wes said. And he like, you've been loyal. I respect that. Pete Buttigieg. Now, he was her opponent in 2019. He said, you're going to be a fantastic president. Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, and the former state attorney general said, before you say anything, I am all in. Chuck Schumer, I believe we will win with you at the head of the ticket. I don't believe shit Chuck say. Bernie Sanders, this is the real one right here. I supported Joe because he was the strongest voice for the working class. Please focus on the working class, not just on abortion, okay? Bernie ain't changed, for real. Gretchen Whitmer says, I believe you can win, but I need to let the dust settle just a little bit, talk to my colleagues before I make any public statement. Okay, so she wasn't finna endorse her in that moment. Nancy Pelosi, this one is like really key and really important because, like I said, Nancy was one of those people who I just believe spearheaded the fact that they did not want Kamala Harris to win or Kamala Harris to run, period, right? This is her statement. I'm so sad about Joe. It's so tragic. My heart is broken. But now it's you. Now it's you. So fucking patronizing, bitch. Come on now. It's important. There's a process. We have a great bench. What the fuck do you mean by that? We should have some kind of primary, okay? Not an anointment. I'm going to refer back to that in a second, right? J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, he said, well, as the governor of Illinois, where they was hosting the DNC, I'm hosting the convention. I can't commit to nothing. Okay? He's saying that I can't endorse you because the DNC is going to be here in my state, and I can't seem like I'm partial to anybody, right? In other words, there may be somebody else that might run against you. I got to wait and see. That's what they told me, right? Gavin Newsom, hiking, we'll call back. And she made sure to let y'all bitches know he never called back. But when she does her interview, she goes on to say, but me and Gavin, we friends. We cool like that. We work together a long doggone time. They work together. But when it comes to this presidency, Gavin think he should be the one that's running for president too. Okay. Mark Kelly, the Arizona former astronaut, he tweeted his endorsement before she even reached him. So as soon as he hit the news, he had already tweeted his endorsement. I support you. She probably felt like Mark Kelly was like vying for the vice presidency at the time. She didn't know Tim Walz at this particular time. Didn't know him, hadn't had many conversations with him. So he wasn't somebody that she called immediately. He was down probably on the list from later on. So page 19, paragraphs 2 and 3. So this is what I'm going to refer back to Pelosi in these statements here. She says, talking Kamala Harris, says, if they thought that I was down with a mini primary or some other half-baked procedure, I was quick to disabuse them. Okay? Go back to Nancy Pelosi's comment when she called her. It's important there's a process. We have a great bench. We should have some kind of primary, not an anointment. And what she say to Nancy? If they thought I was down with the mini primary or some other half-baked procedure, I was quick to disabuse them. How much more time would it take to pull that shit off? I put the word shit in there, right? She could imagine the chaos of everything trying to decide how to do it was going to take, okay? I quote her saying, this is the process. I believe she told that to Nancy. It's important there's a process. Kamala says, this is the process, okay? And if anybody wants to challenge me, they're welcome to jump in. But I intend to earn the support of the majority of the delegates, and I'm doing it right now. She had already started making phone calls. She was already one step ahead of Pelosi, okay? Each call took no more than 2 or 3 minutes. Outside in the fierce afternoon heat, a media scrum swarmed, okay? So what I know, Jasmine Crockett, Raskins, AOC, they all came out later on and said that Nancy Pelosi did not want Kamala Harris to run for president. And she wasn't the only one, but that was the one specific one. I remember the name because that's what the person I thought as well. And this right here is just confirming it to me. Pelosi didn't want her in that damn seat. She had her mind set on somebody else. Okay. She really did. In the remaining of chapter 3, there was a lot of her still again trying to connect with you and try to be relatable, try to show where her faith lies, and that she's also connected with civil rights because her pastor. Everybody got an old ass pastor that used to walk with Jesus and shit. But her pastor, she made sure she called him and she needed to settle and bring herself down. And he hung with them and he grounded them and everything. Some pastor that used to march with MLK. And then she talked about the Charlie XCX kind of endorsement. It was almost like having endorsement from Taylor Swift. She's a big artist that's popular over on the other side of the pond, and she had made a post that Kamala was Brat, which was the title of her last album, right? And then for a while, her campaign, Kamala's campaign, used the colors of that Brat album to promote their agenda as well. Her sister was her sister? Yeah, her sister was one of the ones that was like, but I messed it up. Who was upstairs? Who was the sister that was upstairs? Auntie says everybody come down there. Mina. Okay, so Mina was good with the social media stuff. So Mina had already taken over that night. The social media already rebranded her as Kamala HQ and this, that, and other. And she was the one that leaned heavily into the Charlie XCX explanation. And that this made everybody know that she was appealing to a younger crowd as well. Kamala's only like 20 years younger than Joe. She's 62, I think. 62, 63. Joe's 80. They weren't that much different in age for me. Okay. She's still older than me. I'm 52, right? So, but that made her seem relatable to the younger crowd. And that's pretty much where we're at in 107 Days by Kamala Harris. I'm going to be reading a few more chapters. Maybe I'll stick to 3 chapters at a time because I've been talking for a long time. It's 50 minutes in, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being here. If y'all want to hear more about the book, if you had questions about what I read, leave it in the comment section. I'd like to know if y'all are really interested in this or not. I'm probably still going to be talking about it anyway. Somebody will find it. Somebody will love it once upon a time. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being here. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace.